Good morning. Today we are starting our Unit 7 in math. So we are starting with percentages. So we've moved on from algebraic expressions to now we're doing percentages. So today we're starting with CO39. I can convert percentages and fractions. So a percent is a ratio whose denominator is 100. The symbol for the percent is this. That means percent. The big thing we need to remember is that your denominator is 100. The word percent means per hundred. So a centi is 100. So the big thing to remember with percentages, are you all done? Okay. And then Gregory, remember it's Monday, so watch the clock. Big thing to remember that it has to be out of 100 for percent. Understanding percent. If 16 out of 100 boxes are shaded in, so if we had a 100 board and we had 16 of the boxes filled in out of 100, you would say it was 16 out of 100. So 16 hundredths. How did we get 16% out of 16 hundredths?
So when it says 16 per 100, that means like it's 16. Like
16 per 100. 16%. If you have 100 as your denominator, your percent is going to be your numerator. So when we were looking, if we look at our examples here, 17/20ths, we want to get a 100 on the bottom. I'm going to write it bigger. 17/20ths, we want to bring it up to 100. How can we go from 20 to 100, Anthony?
Times 5.
And we're going to multiply that top and bottom by 5 because 20 times 5 is 100. 17 times 5 is 85. So 17/20ths equals 85%. So when your fraction has that 100 as a denominator, the numerator will be what percent it is. Nick and Anthony, are you paying attention or are you goofing around? Because it sure looks like goofing around right now. Please pay attention. So writing percents as fractions is the reverse. Oh wait, so I didn't go over our numbers in algebra. You can write 16% as 16/100ths or as the 16%. So you can write it as a fraction with 100 as your denominator, or you can write it with the percentage sign. So you can write P percent as P out of 100, so that P means percent is the same as saying P percent. So writing percents as fractions. If we have 37%, how would we write that as a fraction, Will? 37 over 100. That 100 denominator is the most important thing to remember about percentages. Has 100 as a denominator. Can I simplify that?
No, because 37.
37 is a prime, so I cannot simplify it anymore. So it stays as 37 hundredths. What would I put for B? 50%. Brielle? Ooh, how did you get to 1/2, Brielle? Because it would be 50 over 100, right? Because we always want to do 100 as our denominator. And I can divide a 50 out of both 50 and 100. 50 divided by 50 is 1. 100 divided by 50 is 2. So we always want to simplify our fractions. So we wouldn't want to say 50 hundredths. We would want to say 1/2.
So on the test, it's going to say simplify.
Yes. Our next one, 27%. What fraction would that be, Aiden?
27 over 100.
27 over 100. Can I simplify that?
No,
Yes.
27
Yes.
prime.
What could I simplify to,
Yes.
Anthony? 27 is not a prime. 9 times 3 goes into 27. But 9 and 3 don't go into 100. So they don't share any common factors.
That means it's
Gregory, do you need to go? And Gregory, I want you to work on our homework page just so you have an idea of how to do these percentages. Do you know what page is our assignment? What workbook page is up there? 111. So page 111, just that front side. All right, D is 80%. How would I write that as a fraction, Regan? 80 over 100. Can I simplify that?
Yes.
What can I divide out of both 80 and 100? Ryan? I can divide a 10 out. If I divide a 10 out, I have 8/10. Can I get even simpler?
Yes.
What else could I divide out, Nolan?
2.
If I divide a 2 out, what am I left with?
4/5.
4/5. So you want to keep going down till you get as simple as possible. Now the flip side, writing fractions as a percent. So we want to write those fractions into a percentage. What do I have to do to my denominators? What do you think I have to do? What is our magic denominator for percentages, Josie? Yeah, I want to put 100 as my denominator. So whatever I multiply my denominator by, I have to multiply my numerator by it. So if I have 4/5, what do I have to multiply by to get that 5 to turn into a 100? Josie? By 20. If I multiplied it by 20, 5 times 20 is 100. So now I have to multiply my 4 by 20. What is 4 times 20? Nolan? 80. So now I can take 80 hundredths. Do I know what percentage that is?
Yes.
What is it, Nolan?
80%.
So 81 hundredths I know is 80%. So this is kind of a two-step. You turn that denominator, you look at what you have to multiply your fraction by to get 100 for your denominator. Then you can take that new numerator and you know that's your percentage. So look at B, 3/4. What do I have to multiply by to get a 100 as my denominator? Lily?
25.
Yeah, 4 times 25 is 100. So I have to multiply my numerator by the same number. So what's 3 times 25? Lily? 75. So what percentage is this, Lily? 75%. You cannot just leave it as 75 hundredths because the question is asking for a percent. So you have to go to 75%. So if we look at C, 1/2, what do I have to multiply the 2 by to get to 100? What do I multiply a 2 by to get to 100, Brielle? I multiply it by 50. 2 times 50 is 100. 1 times 50 is 50. So what percentage is it, Brielle? 50%. Nolan, our next one is 7/10. What do I have to do?
Wait, but I know the answer, but I don't know what to do.
What?
So the
So let's work it backwards. What do you think the answer is?
70%.
Okay. So we know when we have a fraction that we're taking the numerator. Right now our numerator is a 7. How did you go from 7 to 70?
Times it by 10.
How did you know to multiply it by a 10? What's 10 times 10?
100.
You always want to look at that denominator And what do I have to multiply to bring my denominator up to 100?
Times 10 by 7.
So if I times the denominator by 10, I have to times my numerator by 10. And that's how we got that 70.
Oh.
Okay, so you're always looking at the denominator first. What do I multiply by to bring it up to 100? So multiply your numerator, and that new numerator is your percentage. Because anything over 100, we know what the percent is. Any questions on that?
No.
So then we have some common percents. And they're giving you some percentages and what the fraction is. And if you were to sit down and work it all out, you would see how we got that 10% being 1/10. Well, we know to go from 10 to 100, we multiply it by 10. 1 times 10 is 10, and that's how we get 10%. So there are some that you can just have memorized. Put the glue bottle away, please. So there are some that you just know. 3/4 I know is 75%. I have it memorized. There are certain percentages that you just use so often, they're so common, that you just have them memorized. So they give us a table that has those common ones on it. Like I said, if you do the math, you'll see that it actually works out. Okay. Or you can just have them memorized. Finding percent of a number. Find 60% of 75. What does the of mean when we're doing operations, Anthony? Multiply. We talked about that in the last chapter. That of means to multiply. So we're going to multiply 60% by 75. So we can, instead of going through and doing a lot of simplifying, we know 60% is the same as 60 hundredths. We also know from our chart that 60% is 3/5. They're telling us how to simplify it. So they've already simplified it. So we need to write our percent as a fraction. We can just say 3/5 because 60 hundredths is already simplified. And we're going to multiply that by 75. When I'm multiplying a whole number by a fraction, what do I do to my whole number? Riel? Put a 1 under it. So 3 times 75. Who knows what 3 times 75 is? Do you have your calculators up? Gabby? 225. 5 times 1 is 5. That is not my answer. I need to do my final step. What do I do with this fraction bar, Nolan? Divide. So I need to take my 225 and I need to divide it by 5. That's my simplified. 225 divided by 5 will W.
45. Yeah. No. Yeah.
So 60% of 75 is 45. 60% of 75 is 45. You can use your calculator to help you with this. But you must know all of the steps. So write down the steps like I did so you know which math to do. You know that it's 225 divided by 5. Please stop. I don't like seeing that in my classroom. So use the rule for multiplying fractions and simplify. So we multiplied our fractions and then simplified it. So we took our numerator and divided it by our denominator. So if I need to find 70% of 900, what is my first step? Step 1, write the percent as a fraction. What is the fraction for 70%? Nolan?
70/100.
You could do 70 over 100,
Or 7/10.
or you can do 7 over 10 so you have smaller numbers to work with. You can simplify that fraction right away. We look at our chart, 70% is 7/10. So if you use a smaller fraction, if you simplify it right away, you get smaller numbers that you have to work with, and it's easier. So I have 7/10. What do I do with that 7/10, Nolan?
Don't you multiply it?
By what?
By 900.
I'm going to multiply it of 900.
Over 1.
I'm going to put a 1 under it because I'm multiplying my fractions. So what is 7 times 900?
630.
It's bigger than that.
My calculator messed up.
I see 2 zeros here. Peyton, 2 zeros here. So I have to be 2 zeros in my answer. So 6,300. What is my denominator?
1.
10 times 1
10.
is 10. Am I done?
No, you gotta divide it.
Oh, I have to do my simplified. 6,300 divided by 10. 70% of 900 is what, Regan? 630. Now you can go back and ask yourself, does that make sense? 70% of something, 70% is bigger than a half. It's bigger than 50%. So my number is going to be bigger than half. So half of 900 is 450.
Yes.
630 is bigger than that. It makes sense. Look at B. Find 25% of 200. What do I want to do first? What is my first step, Josie? 25% we need to change into our fraction, 1/4. What am I going to multiply that by, Josie? 200. And I'm going to put that over a 1. So I'm going to multiply across. 1 times 200 is 200. 4 times 1 is 4. So I have 200/4. So what number is that, Josie? Yeah, 200 divided by 4 gives me 50. So if 200 was my original number and I wanted to find 25% of it, 25% is less than half. So if I look at half of 200 is 100, my answer makes sense. It's supposed to be smaller than half of the number, and it is. Adrian, look at C. Find 80% of 55. What do I want to put? 80% we know is 4/5, so I'm going to turn that percentage into my fraction. 4/5 times 55. So I want to multiply going across. What is 4 times 55? Landon? So then I have to times 5 times 1. So 225ths. Aiden, what would that be? 44 is really close to 55. Do you think 80% of 55 is going to be close? Yeah, because 80% is a lot higher than 50%. So it's going to be pretty close to the number. So you can check your answer by looking at, does it make sense? 80% is closer to 100%. So my answer is going to be closer to 55. If I'd gotten 5 for my answer, I would look at that and say, well, that doesn't make sense. 5 is a really small number, and it's supposed to be 80% of it. So it should be much closer to that whole number. Any questions on how we do that? Our steps? Make sure you follow the steps. Change your percent to a fraction. Multiply it, because of means multiply. And then simplify. Divide that numerator by the denominator. And then we have it in word problem form. Same thing, but it's just in a word problem. In March of 2005, 14 of the top women's tennis players were from the United States. What percent of players were not from the United States? So we know 14 were from the United States. We have 14 out of 100, 14%. I think there's supposed to be a percent sign here. 14% of the top women's tennis players are from the United States. What percent were not? So 14% are from the United States. What would be the opposite? Tristan?
86.
Because 100 minus that 14 leaves us with our 86%, the opposite of it. If 14% are from it, then that means the other 86% would not be from it. So you have to think about what those word problems are telling you and how to figure out your information. On the assignment for today, we're not dealing with word problems yet.
Do we have homework?
Yeah, we have homework. We have page 111. Page 111. We're just working with converting percentages and fractions, going back and forth. Zoe, we're just doing that front side, page 111. Shh. So this is what I expect in class. I expect, Dayton, for you to be listening right now. I expect you to do the work on your own and come see me if you have questions on it. I don't want us just copying what our friends have done because we're not learning when we do that. You're cheating yourself out of learning. While you are working, I'm going to go through these tests that people put in their missing sections that they had missing. I'm going to get those done, so I'm hoping to be able to get us back to you by the end of class period. So I'm going to say goodbye to any friends that are listening at home. We hope you are well, and we hope to see you soon.